welcome back to What the Hype. This week, we're checking out The Gap, which just opened at Starcourt Mall here in Hawkins, Indiana. Our car ride here was made stressful due to us intercepting a secret coded Russian radio transmission, and I sure hope I can stay awake for all of it, because the dark wizard Vecna is going around causing me and my classmates to have these horrifying nightmares. Yes, of course, it is our Stranger Things Season 3 and 4 discussion. I am Eric, and joining me this week, Laura and Micah and Pam.
Hi.
Hey!
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Laura and Micah, and welcome to Pam on our overall Stranger Things Season 5 preview discussions.
The band is
so
back
excited.
Together.
This is exciting. We got a full panel today to talk about this show, which is totally lovely. Pam, please. Yeah, tell us, Pam, what you like about Stranger Things.
I think like most people in our age range, I love the nostalgia of like the timeline it's set in. Like I obviously like a little too young for like to remember any or most of the 80s, but I think that like when you are a 90s kid, it's just like the 80s culture really seeps in based on like the movies you grew up watching and things like that. So it's just really fun to see how much fun the creators have adding those little Easter eggs in for people that care to notice. And yeah, I think that the show overall, despite how long it's taken to churn out 5 seasons, it's really done a great job of escalating the stakes every season. And I know that like the running joke whenever you have any kind of these like coming of age sci-fi fantasy titles is like everybody says like, oh, this year it's going to get darker, but it really is like progressively darker and darker. And so it's been a fun journey to go on, and I'm really excited to see how they wrap it up and to see if they stick the landing for 5.
Yeah, now do you remember watching like season 1 when it like came out? Because it was a big deal for Netflix at the time. It's like advertisement.
I think it was specifically, it was like it came out. Didn't it come out during the holidays? Or maybe I binged it like over Thanksgiving weekend. It was me and my brother, and we were looking for something to watch, and he was like, "Oh, there's that 80s show that's supposed to be like really nostalgic, and there's like Dungeons and Dragons and all this other stuff in it." And I was like, "Okay, like let's just like try that." And we binged it all in a night, basically.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people kind of did the same thing. And I also remember that it was a big Halloween costume that year as well.
Which
11 was huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's real fun. But yeah, as you mentioned, Pam, too, like we did kind of an overview the last time we talked about seasons 1 and 2. Definitely for listeners who did not catch those episodes, definitely go back on our YouTube feed, check those out, or our podcast feed. And just getting back to sort of the timeline of the overall show, season 1 aired in July of 2016. Then by October of 2017 was season 2, but it wasn't until July of 2019, 2 full years later, and then May and July of 2022, 3 more years later, and that was 3 years ago. So the last 3 seasons, we've had a 3-year gap in between. Now, the Duffer Brothers have said they don't take really any time. There's barely any downtime. It's all about pre-production and planning and all sorts of stuff, then making the show, then producing the show. And I tend to believe that. It's a big deal. It's a big show. It's well produced. There's a lot of money behind it. But the wait at times has allowed me to, I think, kind of forget like the show, like how good it is, until I'm rewatching and I'm like, actually, this is fantastic.
Yeah, I think that the problem with that too is like it's not to say that you can't tell that they don't put, everything they have into these productions. It's just that like it's not like Stranger Things is the only big budget sci-fi fantasy series that ever has been and ever will be. Like you take a look at something like Game of Thrones, which is a massive beast, probably had a larger budget or a comparably sized budget to what Stranger Things has. They're putting fucking dragons on the screen, and they were still able to put out, a season a year.
Yeah. And you look at like Mandalorian is running laps around, Stranger Things, debuted later.
That's a really great point too.
Yeah. Disney, different streamers like Stranger Things, I think, proved there could be like an event series on a streamer, but then other streaming platforms have gone and had equally successful and or, you know, even bigger budget shows produce more and quicker. So,
yeah. Well, and I think the added layer of pressure here is the fact that so much of this show is a coming of age story. It's about kids growing up in the middle of this whole mess. And, you know, by the time we get season 5, these kids, they're not really kids anymore, but canonically they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I've been watching those. I don't know if you all have been seeing the rewatch series that they've been putting out on the YouTube channel, the Stranger Things YouTube channel. But it's like, and obviously we've seen the main cast grow over the course of the last 5 seasons. But what really kind of like puts into perspective just like how fast these kids are aging and how long it's taking for this show to get made is Priya Ferguson, who plays Erica Sinclair. You know, they introduce her as she's supposed to be a kid sister, and she's like well into her teenage years now. And so it's like, how do you explain that? And that's a common occurrence across the board with a lot of Netflix properties, is that for some reason they choose to take a lot of time to put these episodes out, and then they don't do enough of a time jump to really like justify the physical signs of aging. And that's the problem with working with children, is that you kind of have to be beholden to the fact that they're going to have growth spurts, and you can't control how fast kids grow.
Yeah.
And well, Pam, the one thing I took away from that particular season is that you can't spell America without Erica. And I think that's the most important thing for all of us to remember. We'll talk about it, but one of my favorite characters, probably my favorite character from that season.
Me too.
But,
love her.
Pam, or just kind of to the group, I did want to ask this question because I know the Duffer Brothers were mentioned earlier. I don't really know how much it's on them at the end of the day. Like it's at the discretion of Netflix, right? In terms of when the show gets released, how it is segmented. I'm sure there's obviously conversations between production and then of course Netflix, but we've seen Netflix now do this with a lot of different shows. And I'm even looking here, Eric, at what you put in the doc about how it's going to be released at the end of the year. And it's like, there's 3 different moments now that we all need to be paying attention to, because, you know, we got to, make our Thanksgiving available. We got to make our Christmas available. We got to make our New Year's available, all for Stranger Things.
Well, and that's kind of funny because Netflix is still apparently standing behind this, release multiple episodes all at one go versus more of a weekly release schedule that all the other streamers have kind of done. And where that falters is like Stranger Things 5, because they're releasing it in what used to be called like 2 parts, but it's technically 3 separate parts. I'm glad you mentioned it, but yeah, the first 4 chapters out of 8 are coming on November 26th, so about a month from now, then 3 on Christmas, and then the last one's coming on New Year's. So like, way to dominate all holiday weekends the rest of the year, or attempt to, when instead they could essentially start releasing on Thanksgiving and conclude pretty much at the same time, but just do weekly things like that. That would maybe build up even more of the hype than having us have to quick binge, the first 4 so we don't get spoiled, then the next 3, and then the finale. It's just, this middle ground between releasing it all in one go, as previous seasons had been, or releasing it weekly, is no good for me. I don't like this.
I am like marginally okay with part A, part B. Like, I don't love it, but it's better than nothing. I take issue with the 3-part split. This happened with Cobra Kai, and I think I even told Mike at the time that I was like, well, this is a crappy ending. Like, it's so open-ended. I completely forgot, and this is me being in the business of pop culture, I completely forgot that there was more, because they decided to split it into 3, because you can't keep up with these decisions, and that is asking a lot of normal people that just like things.
Right.
And what can you reasonably call a season anyway, if there's these huge gaps of months between releases? Like, what because what used to define a season was a very specific time of year, right? For network shows. And now it's kind of like, well, part 1 of this, part 2 of this, like, come on. This is like when DVD releases used to say volume. That just irked me to no end.
To be fair, they did used to do this a little bit, but it was the mid-season break, and it was just like around the holidays, right?
That's right.
But
you would
like
have a
3 weeks,
mid-season
4 weeks
finale.
top, right?
Exactly, and then the show would come back in like maybe 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, but then you got to wait for the whole summer to see what happened.
We were doing other things that summer. It was fine.
Exactly.
We're playing hide and seek or freeze tag.
The only thing that Stranger Things does have going for it, as far as the way that they've been releasing this, is that I do appreciate that they have tied subsequent releases to the holidays that they're releasing them on. I do appreciate the thematic.
Yeah, like season 3 was set over the 4th of July and was released in July, and that's very
great.
cool.
Yeah.
And season 2 was a Halloween, it was when they go out on Halloween night.
Super fun. Ghostbusters loved. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
thematically that works. But I tend to agree that like I don't quite see the point of it. And I agree. It is asking a lot for people to mark their calendars for 3 major upcoming holidays to want to tune into this.
Like, sorry, family, if you wanted to watch the football game, I got to watch Stranger Things on Thanksgiving.
Right. Although if you're trying to avoid your family,
it
could be an option.
You know what? I'll use that as an excuse this year.
Be a respite.
I can't make Thanksgiving dinner, fam. I gotta watch.
It depends. Some families might like Stranger Things better than football.
Yeah.
That's true. Not my family.
Family's
But some
one of
families.
We don't watch football.
And I say that as a sports bro. Not really.
Well,
that's just what Andrew calls me.
I guess we're just going to have to plan podcast recordings for all the holidays this year as well.
We were going to take off, but Tootie calls.
Gonna do it for the show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Netflix.
Oh, man. Don't get to see my family. So we're going to talk about, seasons 3 and 4 and the show overall, maybe do a little bit of preview towards season 5. But first, here is a word from our sponsors.